Chapter 13. The Maha Mantra. The importance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is very strongly stressed in the second canto, first chapter, 11th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the following way. Sukadeva Goswami tells Maharaj Parikshit, quote, "My dear king, if one is spontaneously attached to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is to be understood that he has attained the highest perfectional stage." End quote. It is specifically mentioned that the karmis, who are aspiring after the fruitive results of their activities, the salvationists, who are aspiring to become one with the Supreme Lord, and the yogis, who are aspiring after mystic perfections, can achieve the results of all perfectional stages simply by chanting the Maha Mantra. Sukadeva uses the word nirnitam, which means it is already decided. He was a liberated soul and therefore could not accept anything which was not conclusive. So, Sukadeva Goswami especially stresses that it is already concluded that one who has come to the stage of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra with determination and steadiness must be considered as having already passed the trials of fruitive activities, mental speculation, and mystic yoga. The same thing is confirmed in the Adi Purana by Krsna. While addressing Arjuna, he says, quote, "Anyone who is engaged in chanting my transcendental name must be considered to be always associating with me, and I may tell you frankly that for such a devotee, I become easily purchased." End quote. In the Padma Purana also it is stated, quote, "The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is present only on the lips of a person who has for many births worshipped Vasudeva." End quote. It is further said in the Padma Purana, quote, "There is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. As such, the holy name is as perfect as the Lord himself in fullness, purity, and eternity. The holy name is no material sound vibration, nor has it any material contamination." End quote. The holy name cannot, therefore, be chanted offenselessly by one who has failed to purify his senses. In other words, materialistic senses cannot properly chant the holy names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but by adopting this chanting process, one is given a chance to actually purify himself so that he may very soon chant offenselessly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that everyone chant the Hare Krishna mantra just to clean the dust from the heart. If the dust of the heart is cleansed away, then one can actually understand the importance of the holy name. For persons who are not inclined to clean the dust from their heart and want to keep things as they are, it is not possible to derive the transcendental result of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. One should, therefore, be encouraged to develop his service attitude toward the Lord, because this will help him to chant without any offense. And so, under the guidance of a spiritual master, the disciple is trained simultaneously to render service and at the same time to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. As soon as one develops his spontaneous service attitude, he can immediately understand the transcendental nature of the holy names of the Maha Mantra. In the Padma Purana, there is a statement about the importance of living at holy places like Mathura or Dwarka. It is stated there, quote, To travel to different places of pilgrimage means to attain emancipation from material bondage. This emancipation, however, is not the highest perfectional stage. After attaining this liberated stage, one has to become engaged in devotional service to the Lord. After attainment of the Brahmabhuta, liberation stage, one can further advance to engagement in devotional service. So this attainment of transcendental loving devotional service to the Lord is the goal of life, and it can be achieved very easily for one who lives in Mathura Mandala, even for a few seconds." End quote. It is further said, quote, "Who is that person who will not agree to worship the land of Mathura? Mathura can deliver all the desires and ambitions of the fruitive workers and of the salvationists who desire to become one with the Supreme Brahman. Certainly Mathura will deliver the desires of the devotees who simply aspire to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord." End quote. In the Vedic literature, it is also stated, quote, "How wonderful it is that, simply by residing in Mathura, even for one day, one can achieve a transcendental, loving attitude toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This land of Mathura must be more glorious than Vaikuntha-dham, the kingdom of God." End quote. Rupa Goswami has stated that 5 kinds of devotional activities, namely, residing in Mathura, worshipping the deity of the Lord, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, serving a devotee, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, are so potent that a small attachment for any one of these 5 items can arouse devotional ecstasy even in a neophyte. Regarding worship of the form of the Lord, or deity, Rupa Goswami has written the following verse, quote, "My dear friends, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within this material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing at the bank of Keshi Ghat, which is a bathing place in Vrindavan. He is known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting. He's playing upon his flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather, and his whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky." End quote. The purport of this verse is that if someone becomes attached to the Srimurti, or deity of Krishna, by worshipping at home, then he will forget his relationship of so-called friendship, love, society. Thus it is the duty of every householder to install deities of the Lord at home, and to begin the process of worshipping along with all of his family members. This will save everyone from such unwanted activities as going to clubs and cinemas, dancing parties, smoking, drinking, etc. All such nonsense will be forgotten if one stresses the worship of the deities at home. Rupa Goswami further writes, quote, "My dear foolish friend, I think that you have already heard some of the auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam, which decries seeking the results of fruitive activities, economic development, and liberation. I think now it is certain that gradually the verses of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the pastimes of the Lord, will enter your ears and go into your heart." End quote. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that unless one has the capacity to throw out, just like garbage, the fruitive results of ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and becoming one with the Supreme, or salvation, one cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam deals exclusively with devotional service. Only one who studies Srimad Bhagavatam in the spirit of renunciation can understand the pastimes of the Lord, which are described in the 10th canto. In other words, one should not try to understand the topics of the 10th canto, such as the Rasa Lila, love dance, unless he has spontaneous attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. One must be situated in pure devotional service before he can relish Srimad Bhagavatam as it is. In the above two verses of Rupa Goswami, there are some metaphorical analogies which indirectly condemn the association of materialistic society, friendship, and love. People are generally attracted to society, friendship, and love, and make elaborate arrangements and strong endeavors to develop these material contaminations. But to see the Srimurtis of Radha and Krishna is to forget such endeavors for material association. Rupa Goswami composed his verse in such a way that he was seemingly praising the material association of friendship, love, etc., and was condemning the audience of Srimurti or Govinda. This metaphorical analogy is constructed in such a way that things which seem to be eulogized are condemned, and things which are to be condemned are eulogized. The actual import of the verse is that one must see the form of Govinda if one at all wants to forget the nonsense of material friendship, love, and society. Srila Rupa Goswami has similarly described the transcendental nature of relishing topics which concern Krishna. A devotee once said, quote, "It is very astonishing that since I have seen this personality of Godhead, who is washed by the tears of my eyes, there is shivering of my body, and he has made me a failure in executing my material duties. Seeing him, I cannot remain silently at home. I wish to go out to him always." End quote. The purport of this statement is that as soon as one is fortunate enough to contact a pure devotee, he must be anxious immediately to hear about Krishna, to learn about Krishna, or in other words, to become fully Krishna conscious. Similarly, there is a statement about hearing and chanting the Maha Mantra. Quote, "It is said that saints have been able to hear the vibrating strings of the Veena in the hands of Narada, who is always singing the glories of Lord Krishna. Now, this same sound vibration has entered my ears, and I'm always feeling the presence of the Supreme Personality. Gradually, I'm becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment." End quote. Again, he has described Mathura Mandala. Quote, "I remember the Lord standing by the banks of the Yamuna River, so beautiful amidst the Kadamba trees, where many birds are chirping in the gardens. And these impressions are always giving me transcendental realization of beauty and bliss." End quote. This feeling about Mathura Mandala and Vrindavan by Rupa Goswami can actually be felt even by non-devotees. The places in the 84 square mile district of Mathura are so beautifully situated on the banks of the river Yamuna that anyone who goes there will never want to return to this material world. These statements by Rupa Goswami are factually realized descriptions of Mathura and Vrindavan. All these qualities prove that Mathura and Vrindavan are situated transcendentally. Otherwise, there is no possibility of invoking our transcendental sentiments in these places. Such transcendental feelings are aroused immediately and without fail after one arrives in Mathura or Vrindavan. In these statements about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, but actually there is no overestimation. Some devotees, as is evidenced from revealed scriptures, have had immediate results by such association, although this is not possible for all. For example, the Kumaras immediately became devotees simply by smelling the incense in the temple. Bilvamangala Thakur simply heard about Krishna and then immediately gave up his beautiful girlfriend and started out for Mathura and Vrindavan, where he became a perfect Vaishnava. So these statements are not overestimations, nor are they stories. They are actual facts, but are true for certain devotees and do not necessarily apply to all. These descriptions, even if considered overestimations, must be taken as they are in order to divert our attention from the fleeting material beauty to the eternal beauty of Krishna consciousness. And for a person who is already in contact with Krishna consciousness, the described results are not unusual. Some scholars argue that simply by following the principles of Varna and Ashram, one can gradually rise up to the perfections reached by practicing devotional service. But this argument is not accepted by the great authorities. Lord Chaitanya also condemned this idea while he was talking with Ramananda Roy about the gradual development of devotional service. He rejected the idea of the importance of Varnashram Dharma when it was put forward by Ramananda Roy. He said that this advancement of Varna and Ashram is merely external. There is a higher principle. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord says that one has to give up all other principles of elevation and take simply to the method of Krishna consciousness that will help him in achieving the highest perfection of life. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, 8th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord himself says, quote, "One should execute the prescribed duties of Varna and Ashram as long as he has not developed spontaneous attachment for hearing about my pastimes and activities." End quote. In other words, the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashram are ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, or for salvation. All of these things are recommended for persons who have not developed Krishna consciousness. In fact, all such activities are recommended in the revealed scriptures only to bring one to the point of Krishna consciousness. But one who has already developed spontaneous attachment for Krishna does not require to execute the duties prescribed in the scriptures.